Okay, I want you to see a little video that they're claiming about mud DNA. Now, I discovered mud fossils in 2012, had them DNA tested, and tried to present them to every university on the face of the planet, literally, and was refused, absolutely denied. And the reason was because mine were giant human DNA and giant human fossils. Not only were they DNA certified by two different certified labs, they were also CAT scanned on industrial scanners by Jesse Garant and Associates, 7 CAT scans, and then those CAT scans, which are excellent people, very, very nice, did a great job. The software is easy to use, and it was just absolutely conclusive. And Gil Headley looked over these. Gil Headley, who owns an anatomical autopsy school, or teaches autopsies worldwide, certified these as human remains, even though they were giant. So there is, and the chemistry was recreated in a lab that changes these soft tissues into mineralized body parts, and the key is in the electrical currents called telluric currents, or spontaneous potentials, however you want to call them, that are in the wet mud. And this is what they didn't understand. What happens is there's a process called chelation that surrounds metal complexes, which is ferrous oxide. Iron is a metal complex. It is associated with the hemoglobin and the DNA and so forth, and it's surrounded by these little molecules they call ligands, and those ligands surround it just like you surround it with a rubber bag, and that's it. And they stay literally forever as long as they stay in a wet environment. And the reason that they stay forever in a wet environment is because that is their environment. The veins and vascular network in your body don't even know you're dead when you are in a wet, correct pH environment. And I will show you one that didn't know it was dead. Alright, this is a lung found in a mud flat in England by Gary Evans. A very good researcher, has been finding spectacular things. And this is literally bleeding. Now that is a rock. Well, let me show you what it looked like before he broke it open. Because these things just look like rocks and things and muddy old dirty things. They just pass them by and think they're nothing. So let's look at what it is when he took it out of the ground, or out of the mud. Alright, this is when Gary took it out of the ground. This is what it looked like. And you can see it just looks like a muddy old rock. Alright, this is as it began to dry out. You see all of these stone looking things in there? That is not stones. Those are the lobes of the lung, the little tiny vascular things in the lungs. They fill up with different sediments and different metals and iron oxides and so forth, because that's their nature. Now, this is the black part where the blood is coming in. It's not oxygenated, and it's coming in to get the red oxygenated blood. It's working through the blood vessels. You see it's beginning to dry out. This is only a day or so after being out of the mud. And now I'll show you what happens as it just, in 2 weeks, that thing is gone. Alright, he told me, I think this was less than 2 weeks. So now, here's what happens, is you're now into like a deteriorated, and that will turn into literal mud. That will turn into mud. So the things they're finding in the mud, it's obvious. These are the things that have deteriorated. So they're going to find this everywhere on the planet. It means literally nothing what they have found. We've known this for years, and I'm going to show you a couple of emails. And so what they are trying to do is to protect their image that they've got something that's special now. Now they're going to find that a dog could have dragged something in there, or who knows what happened in there. It blows in. There's floods. They don't take into account any of the floods. So. And they don't have any clue what these people look like. They just say, oh, they're Neanderthals, and then they sort of make a guess. I have the actual body parts, and they will not examine them. That's my rub, and it's very, very frustrating. 5 years now. You see that? That's a mud fossil piece of meat. And that is what I call a fascial investment. That little flap, I don't think some of them call it a tongue, I believe. But what it does is it invests that into the main system of the body, because everything is held to everything else at some point. And that's the exact same tongue investing whatever this is into the main structure of the body. That's how it works, and that's what it is. So they need to look at mud fossils. Now, the reason they won't look at them is because it shows God in creation, and that is against academics. They hate God and they hate creation, and they force the kids to go against God and against creation in favor of a big bang of nothing, of dead dust that was shaken very hard and turned into people carrying machine guns and violins. It's not possible. It is insanity. All right, this head was found by Arlie Caudle, and Jim Burchell and myself did the research on it. It was taken down to University of Texas, Austin, for a scan, and they were extremely rude and arrogant. And when they did the CAT scan, they objected to doing it. And when they finally did it, we had agreed to pay and everything. And I asked for one single question as to what the moisture content in that head would affect the CAT scan, and they refused to answer one single question. I became enraged, and before long it escalated to the police and lawyers. So they fight this stuff with tooth and nail. If you present them with anything that they cannot just simply toss aside, which this, you can't toss this aside. This is exactly, there's no question what this is, absolutely none. And this is rejected, and the DNA from dirt is accepted. This is not going to fly. This lung right here was DNA tested from deep inside this little tongue, they call it, on the end of the lung. And this is a human, 100% human mitochondrial DNA, as was the giant's. And I have two giants. I'm going to show you that in a second. This was another one that just literally squirted blood when I took it out of the ground. Now, they just do not understand this, and if they don't understand, they just ignore and deny and attack. All right, what you're looking at right there is this is what's called an apical tuft. It's right at the very, very tip of a distal phalanges, they call this. I'm going to speak doctor speak. That is the bone, and this is called the bone silhouette. Just like you see the silhouette here, the blackness, that's from the ferrous oxides, which is the FeO2 variety of iron. And this is also the FeO2 variety, and it comes from what they call ferritins that are in the bone. And it leaked and created the exact pattern of the tip of a distal phalanges. This side here is the vein side, the arterial side, and it is open, and it blew out here, it blew out here, and it blew out the tip. This is the vein side. Did I say vein over here? I meant artery over here. If I said vein, I didn't mean it. This is the vein side, and it doesn't squirt because they have vein valves that pinch off inside here and do not let the blood flow backwards. The arteries have no such restriction, and the blood blows out from the pressures created because of decomposition. And that's a fact. That's a mud fossil, and that was DNA tested. So that's not something that I'm just guessing on. And and also the anatomist checked it, and it's been CAT scanned too. See, that's all the spots they blow out on. You see on the end of the tip of the fingertips, there's all those little holes. They blow right out of there. One side is the vein, one side is the artery on each finger. And the artery side brings in the good blood, and it leaches over to the vein side, which slurps it back up to your heart. By the way, this is for my friend down in Kentucky, Larry Taylor. Larry, it's exactly what I told you it was when we first started and had our big blow up. These are diamonds. The red stuff and the olivines are from it was a lung, a little tiny lung, and that's what's left over as it decomposed, which is exactly what I sent you in the beginning. These are the garniferous and olivines, which are left over from the flap, which I just showed you in the other ones. That is that tendon flap, or whatever you want to call it, the tongue. So Larry, have a nice day. All right, that's the one side of a bone ball. I'm going to show you the other one, which eroded away. You can see the actual bone. That right there is the muscle fiber that wraps around the bone ball. It's perfectly articulated. Okay, this is the other side of that bone ball, which had eroded away completely, so the muscle fibers itself are gone. But you can see all of the red ferrous oxides, which are the blood. That is what the blood is. Those and the dust of that ferrous oxide is literally blood cells that have separated from the other blood cells and particulated. Okay, here was the coup de grace for Mudfossils. This is a 36-inch wide human hand. It's been DNA tested. It's been CAT scanned, a number of the fingers, and we found many more since this. It is what it is. And this is the padding of your hand. This is a left hand. And if you took your own hand, you see this here? Let me see if I can bring this in. Let me see, maybe I can do it this way. Alright, you see that? You see that ridge running down there? And all of this colored stuff? Nobody blobbed that on there. That is the stuff around here, your hand. And that ridge is the one that runs right down in the middle of your hand. It's a tendinous ridge that runs down. And then the thumb runs off over here. And we found, I don't know, we found a knuckle and some fingers. And, you know, a lot of, this was years ago, this picture was taken. And this is deteriorated now. This has been outside and it's pretty much destroyed. But what you're going to find is, and I'm going to show you this right now. Because I do lungs over the winter. Well, I did this, okay, here we go. I did this lung over the winter and froze it to split it. And you're going to see inside of it. You see that silvery looking stuff? See that silver stuff? That's what happens when blood, in certain conditions, in mud, see this is a lung, but you wouldn't know that looking at it. You'd say, well, that's just a big old muddy rock. No, it isn't. It's a lung, and that was the entranceway into the lung, and then it all sort of does what it does inside of a lung, and it transfers the oxygen into the blood, and then so forth. But this is cool. What you do is you take them, you soak them, and then you put them in a plastic bag and put them out in the winter, put them in your freezer or whatever. And it takes a long time. They'll split like this. And then you can see what's inside. And they split on these particular planes, which is really nice because you get this architecture in here. And you can see things. Anyway, what you're going to find here is the same thing. All skin has a lot of the silicon in it as well. The silicon in here is the silicon you're seeing here is the structural part of your lung, and that will get destroyed if you inhale hydrofluoric acid. And the only thing that silicon is destroyed by is hydrofluoric acid. It etches glass, which is silicon, and that is what these lungs are made of. And all your structural part of your body has a lot of silicon. See that? Look at that. Look at all that silicon. And that's what you see in the Mudfossils as well. And you will see it where they split and the skin has this silvery effect. So I'm just telling you that because I thought it was pretty interesting. My main point here, I got off track, but my main point is these are giants. This is not going to allow the giants. They'll dig dirt. They'll be fine with dirt. But you show them a giant, forget about it. They're going to run like crazy. They put their head in the sand, they scream and yell, the guy's crazy. Well, it's not crazy, it's facts, and it's reality, and it was written in every single text, in every single culture of every single place on the earth. But they're just so smart that they think those people are all silly. Now, it's time to straighten this out and get to reality in this world because you know, there's a lot more at stake here than just this curiosity of, oh, there was giants, like it's a big deal. Well, I've gone way past that, my friends. This has meaning. So you do what you want, I'm going to do what I want, but you better straighten these people out because they are telling you things that are 100% wrong. They don't care. It's all about them.